Greetings and welcome. This is Dr. Bruce Kolaski welcoming you to Beat the Clock with Dr. Bruce. And my guest today is Robert Gauthier. Did I pronounce that correctly? Gauthier?
Dr. Bruce.
It's been 100 years since my high school French, so that'll have to do. And Robert is the owner of Nutraxis International, and that's a Canadian-based company that has a unique and very preventative approach to the topic of today's show. So let's begin by asking you, what do you mean by a preventative approach?
Well, let's get into proper context, Dr. Bruce. First of all, let's understand where we come from. We don't recognize diseases per se. According to us, diseases are simply stated cellular dysfunctions. Today, what we're going to be addressing is cellular health. That's the very first premise. The second is, if you agree with me, we're all made up of energy and cells.
Absolutely.
From the tip of our toes to the top of our head, we're all made up of energy and cells. Would you agree?
I would certainly agree. That's been my experience.
Well, then the last premise is basically stated, according to us, the body has the intrinsic ability and desire to be disease-free given the right substrates. What we're going to be discussing today is those right substrates. So no, we do not address diseases per se. We're not here to treat any disease. What we're here to do is to empower the human body to do what it was conceived to do, is to be disease-free.
Today we are addressing a certain complex that you have called GSH complex. Would you, or solution as you call it, could you elaborate on that, what GSH is, what it stands for?
Sure. GSH complex is a tripeptide. We're not going to get too complicated for the general public, but basically what it is, it's a product that has one singular function, is to raise what we call intracellular glutathione. Now that's a mouthful, but you need to understand intracellular glutathione is very important. It's probably for the past 100 years the most interesting discovery in science when it comes to medicine, because it is your master antioxidant. It is what makes you live. It's just as important as breathing air or drinking water. Actually, Dr. Oz had 3 shows on glutathione saying it's the single most important molecule in the human body, and it is as important as air or water for your survival. And that's what we're going to be discussing today, is how to get intracellular glutathione to be raised to the level where it can protect your cells.
Okay. I was told that you or your company is different in that you not only boost the immune system, but you also regulate it. What does that mean, regulate the immune system?
Very good question, because most people, especially in the United States, are looking when we come to this time of the year where, basically, a viral infection, you're afraid for cough, colds, and flus. So people are looking at boosting their immune system. The beauty about GSH complex, not only does it upregulate the immune system for a viral infection or a cough, a cold, or a flu, but what it will do is, if you have lupus, which is an autoimmune hyperactivity, if you've got asthma, if you have these conditions where your immune system is attacking you, it will regulate your immune system to have a balanced immune system. It is a fallacy to think that you want to have a hyperactive immune system. It can be counterproductive, but you do want an upregulated immune system when it comes to viral infection. So what we do is we balance the immune system for you to have a nice, healthy immune system to take care of viral infection, or for you as an individual who suffers from hyperimmune activity, that we will downregulate it and you have a nice, healthy immune system.
Well, that was going to be my next question. You said we don't want a heightened immune system. Why is that?
Well, because if you have an autoimmune hyperactivity, you're actually hurting yourself. See, the fallacy is when we had this big scare about H1N1, if you remember 3-4 years ago, people wanted to boost their immune system. But if you had arthritis, if you had asthma, if you had allergies, you were actually hurting the patient or the customer by using a product that only boosts the immune system. In our case, we regulate the immune system. We go one step further then upregulating the immune system, we rebalance the immune system.
Okay. And so arthritis, is that considered an autoimmune disease?
Well, it depends. It starts with something of toxicity, but it is an autoimmune dysfunction.
Is your therapy, is it a patented therapy?
Well, what we're discussing today is GSH complex, which is the foundation for a patented therapy for the treatment of what we call opportunistic diseases related to an immune compromised system. So you need to understand, yes, it is the baseline in a therapy that we have for AIDS in Africa. The therapy itself is called VPROX. V is for life in French, and prox is for a proximity to quality of life. So VPROX is 3 components, which put together give over 90% efficacy on a viral infection such as AIDS. It was actually developed for AIDS, but the baseline or the foundation for that therapy is GSH complex, which is the topic of discussion today.
Well, a news flash for all of our viewers out there. This is the cold and flu season, in case you didn't realize that. And being the cold and flu season, how can GSH help us avoid those nasty little bugs?
Well, it's a viral infection. We're afraid of viral infection. We know that, the normal means in medicine not very well equipped to deal with viral infections. So preventive approaches is a lot better. Just to put it proper context, Dr. Bruce, Dr. Montagnier, the discoverer of the AIDS virus, or the one who isolated the AIDS virus not so long ago, went on a world summit on AIDS and said, you don't attack the AIDS virus. You give the individual the chance to upregulate their immune system to protect them. And you can be exposed many times to the AIDS virus, but if your immune system is strong enough, you will be able to fend for yourself. Well, it's the same thing for a cough, a common cold or flu. A viral infection will come in your neighborhood. You will be affected, but if your immune system is strong enough, because we're basically a cesspool of bacteria, viruses, and parasites that our immune system in a regular environment will keep in check. But for some reason, some are more compromised than others. Some viral infections, such as the AIDS virus, we don't deal very well with. So basically, if you have a good, strong, well-balanced immune system, you're having a protective measure instead of a curative measure, which is not working very well when we come to certain viral infections.
Robert, this may be a bit of an unfair question, but you cannot turn on the news or the radio here in the United States, and I'm sure it's the same up in Canada, without hearing about this Ebola virus. We're hearing that it has the potential of claiming like something like 500,000 lives. I guess that would be in the United States alone if it really gets loose. I don't suppose what you have has any applicability for that, does it?
Well, it certainly does. A viral infection is a viral infection. There's different forms. In the common flu has claimed a lot of lives over the years, especially with the elderly people. But in Africa, the most common one right now is the AIDS virus. And as I said before, our therapy has been patented, clinically proven to give about 90% efficacy on the AIDS virus. Now, the Ebola virus is just another virus. Is it more virulent than the AIDS? According to science, it is. But I think that the best approach is a preventive approach, and we have exactly what the person needs to be able to prevent and fend for themselves. Don't forget, let's go back to Dr. Montagnier. And Dr. Montagnier, in his World Summit, said, if you're having a good lifestyle, good eating habit, you're well hydrated, and your immune system is strong enough, you can be exposed to such a virus and be able to fend for yourself. So the Ebola virus is not any different. The problem is the general population is very compromised when it comes to their immune system. So obviously there is a real threat, as you're mentioning. According to Dr. Rima of the Research Foundation, that it could claim up to 550,000 lives this year in the United States alone. So my answer to you is this one. If we had, let's say, for argument's sake, something that could, if you cut a limb, that we could put it back on and then it would work properly. Your hand would work again. Would you take a chance to have your hand cut off, or would you take a preventive approach of never putting your hand in danger? What we're saying today, and I hope that you will agree with me, is let's just take a preventive approach, give you a well-balanced immune system. Should you be exposed to the Ebola virus, you would be in a better position than any other person that their immune system is compromised, minimized, and then the Ebola virus will have a negative effect on that person.
Well, that's a pretty bold assertion. Some might call it a startling assertion, but it's also a logical assertion from my mind. That if you as they used to say, keep your shields up, Scotty, you have a less chance of contracting these particular opportunistic viruses. But why is this happening in Africa? Why is it coming out? Is it because of their immune system is compromised from malnutrition or whatever they're going through there?
On a general basis, your assessment is right. The general population where it happened, first of all, this, according to the host, according to what we're being told, is a bat and monkey. And the population that they affected probably is malnourished. Their immune system is very low, and inevitably they couldn't fight and they got the virus. And hygiene, quality of life might not be the same as what we have. And guess what you have is an epidemic in the making. Now, today, with the the flights going from one country to another, inevitably in the United States, you're being affected. The media has picked up on it, rightfully so, because we shouldn't just put a blind eye to something of that effect. And then you've got hospital, which is another environment where it can proliferate. And you've got mass panic. I don't think we should be at the mass panic stage now, but we should be taking care of ourselves. Inevitably, myself, I would not go in an area where I think there could be the Ebola virus unless I was well protected.
Why tempt fate? Exactly. Okay, so tell me, what am I getting differently from your product? Why can't I just walk into a health food store here, buy some glutathione tablets, and pop the tablets? Wouldn't I get the same thing?
Well, you need to understand, glutathione pills do exist, and but they're synthetic. You understand, and they're not as efficient as what we have to offer. For very important reason is that they're being destroyed in your intestinal tract. What we're offering here is totally different. It's a precursor, a building block for your body to produce its own glutathiones. It's much different. One approach is you're supplementing, the other is you're empowering. Remember at the beginning you say we're giving the body the ability to be able to fend for itself? Well, we're empowering your cells to produce their own glutathione, and in the process, we're rebalancing your immune system. Two different approach. In emergency medicine, I would say yes, take glutathione pill, injections for, let's say, a Tylenol overdose, it would do the job. And, before a patient dies of dysfunction of the liver because of a Tylenol overdose, they do use glutathione intravenously, and it works very well. It has a very short half-life, meaning it goes peak within 2 hours, and then it goes below baseline, and then it becomes toxic. Whereas what we have to offer here has no toxicity whatsoever. Now, according to me, if you were, I don't know, a pregnant woman, a newborn child, or an elderly person, would you take the approach of giving something that has some toxicity, or would you give the approach of giving, as a physician, something which is totally natural and has no toxicity whatsoever?
Good point.
I think it's an obvious answer. We don't want toxicity. So one can be used in an emergency environment. What we want to do is to use our approach as a common approach for preventive measures.
Exactly, as we say, prophylactic, in a prophylactic sense. I have a confession to make to our viewers. I did get my hands on some of this, the GSH complex. And I had been told by a little bird that it could also be used topically as a mask. So I followed the instructions and used it as a mask, and I was totally blown away by what happened. I found it have a very lifting quality. And the fact that here is something that can be used both internally and externally, that's that's very, very, very impressive. Can you address the topical use of the GSH? Why it works?
Well, okay. First of all, we need to address the subject of oxidative stress, okay, and antioxidant. What people don't know is GSH complex will stimulate intracellular glutathione, but in turn, glutathione is also known as GSH. It is the most powerful antioxidant known to man today. Now, I know there are very good antioxidants out there. I mean, you've got, noni juice, goji juice, zango juice, you've got vitamin C, vitamin E. All of these antioxidants cannot function properly unless GSH levels are high enough intracellularly. Actually, we can tell your biological age by your intracellular glutathione production, which is basically your antioxidant function. So what do? We stimulate the most powerful antioxidant function of your body, and in turn, we fight the ravages of aging. What people don't know is that 80%, according to science, 80% of disease states are basically stress related. How do you accelerate the not the antioxidant, but the oxidative stress of a person is basically two ways. If you do exercise, or if you basically worry too much. And when you worry, you age prematurely. So we slow down that aging process. Now, it's taken internally because the work has to be done internally. And we always say to look beautiful outside, you have to look beautiful inside. But since the molecules are small enough, you can put it topically, and it has a transdermal or within the cells of the skin, and it repairs the skin damage as you put it on. That's why you've seen, undeniable results within the first application. But on a sustained basis, we really give fantastic result, which proves that it is, as an antioxidant, one of the most powerful antioxidants available, either for a topical application, but for internal application, even more important. If 80% of disease states is oxidative stress, well, then you got to promote the most powerful antioxidant, and you have it within your body. So that's why it does work so fantastic. And, I don't know how long you've been doing it for, but you sure look good, according to me, on this camera.
You're very kind. And by the way, I had my wife try it, and she regularly uses a mask from a company that shall remain nameless. And this not only equaled, but it exceeded that more expensive mask. So we're both very impressed. But that's just us. Okay, that's just us. Do you have any other testimonies, any stories you can tell us about this anti-aging or even his dermatological properties?
Well, yes, I do. Actually, I have a whole bunch of them, but one that comes to mind that really would get the message across. A while back, I was giving a conference, and this farmer lady, she was 87 years of age, and she was wondering if this would help her out because she had all sorts of aches and pains, and she had skin cancer and what we call aging spots. And at the end of the conference, I told everybody, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give this lady the product. She'll put it on one hand, and if in a month from now that hand doesn't look at least 10 to 20 years younger, without any more aging spots, I will give every one of you back their money. Long story short, most of them were family members, but this lady, we need to understand, she did do the test, and guess what? She did look a lot younger, but all of her aches and pains went away, and she was wondering, how come, Robert, all my, because she had arthritis, she had a whole bunch of trouble. And I asked her, when you were younger, did you mix your own chemicals when working on the farm? She said, yes. I said, these chemicals, were absorbed into your system to protect your brain, your body, your cells. With some fat, had to basically get hold of all these toxins. And at a certain point in your life, there was too much of it, and it started releasing. And that's why you've got aches and pains, and you've got arthritis, and you've got all of this. Inevitably, with the sun, you have cancer of the skin, and you've got aging spots that you shouldn't have even at your age. And she says, yeah, but it all went away. And the hand that she did it, the arm that she did it on was basically nice and clean. And she says, well, the aging spots are actually oxidative effects on your skin. And cancer is triggered in most cases, starts with toxicity and then a cellular dysfunction. If you remember at the beginning, we said we don't address diseases per se, we take care of cellular health. And long story short, she's been a customer of ours. She's doing very well and she's very happy. And she is using it now topically on her face to look younger. And she finds the topical application as beneficial as the internal application because it works on two things. It works as the most powerful antioxidant, but it's also a chelating agent to excrete toxins out of your system. And that's very important. Many years ago, I used to come to California to do business with a doctor, Dr. Cords. He's now deceased. And we used to fly from one town to another in a little plane, and we're having fun. And sometimes he was flying, other times I was flying. And then say, Robert, could you find the airport for me? And I say, look, you're going to have to go at least 1,000 feet higher because I'm trying to look through this half of a mile of orange sludge that you guys have in California. Now, all this toxicity inevitably ends up in your system, and then it has to be excreted. If it's not excreted, it will be called one day Alzheimer's, Parkinson, arthritis, cancer, all of these diseases because your system cannot hold on to this long enough. And there's a lot more. If you take all the water that we drink, the food that we eat, people don't know this, but your food that you're eating today has been sprayed with pesticide at least 28 times before it ends up in your plate. Inevitably, a fruit, a vegetable is a porous substance that will accumulate some of this toxicity, which we call pesticide, ends up in your system. And then you're attacked by all this environmental frequencies, electromagnetic field influence, which is called radiation, but it's still a toxic environment. Your body can't handle it anymore. And unless you find some agent to get rid of these things, you're going to be paying a heavy price. One of which is going to be on your health, but also on your looks. So that's why we're getting such results. That's why this lady with the skin cancer and the aging spots found such a fantastic result because she was using it internally and she was using it topically.
So what it seems to do is is it ridding the body of the environmental toxicities that have built up over the years?
Definitely, but at the most profound level, which is intracellular toxicity, which is very important because people say, well, we detoxify. This is not an intestinal detoxification that you will do after winter. This is at a cellular level. And remember what we said at the beginning, we're all made up of energy and cells. So if we detoxify the cells, then the cells take care of the tissues take care of the organ, and the organ takes care of the supposed disease or disease state. Now, do understand, I'm talking about diseases, even though I said we don't take care of disease, but you need to understand, today people just see disease as words. We see them as cellular dysfunctions, which are caused by oxidative stress, which we've addressed, toxicity, which we've addressed, and obviously immune system dysfunction, which we also address. So that's what GSH complex does through the stimulation of glutathione intracellularly.
Robert, if any of our viewers out there, and I'm sure they will, going to want to know more about GSH and also your other products, how can they reach you? How can they learn more about it?
Well, it's pretty simple. Nowadays with the World Wide Web, it's worldwide. So I like to say for them to remember, because they usually have trouble with acronyms as GSH or put GHS and all this. I say, okay, why don't you remember Good Solid Health Complex? It's not complicated. It's GSH Complex. And they can find it with that word, or they can go to Nutraxis.com. Nutraxis is the name of our company, and NUTRA stands for nutrition. We are in the functional food business. To give you an example, when I was a kid, we used to eat the blueberries. They were a fruit, but then science got involved, and now it's a powerful antioxidant. It's a functional food. NUTRA for nutraceutical. In the United States, it's the fastest growing segment of the health and wellness industry. So we're in the nutraceutical industry, and Axis is baseline for health, start with cellular health. So they can go to Nutraxis.com or to GSHcomplex.com or GSH as Good Solid Health Complex.
Thank you for that, Robert. I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be looking you up on the web. And I found this fascinating. I learned an awful lot today, as I always do with these. But thank you for joining us today, Robert. And
Quite enjoyable.
our pleasure. And to our viewers, I would like to say this. You know, Robert made a good point about GSH and the other products he has. But this is a very challenging season. At any time, it is a challenging season with colds and flu. But we're facing a particular challenge now with the Ebola crisis. And for simple peace of mind, I'd recommend that you keep your shields up, Scotty. What do you have to lose? So this is Dr. Bruce thanking you for joining us on Beat the Clock and reminding you, you can be the healthy, happy, vital person you want to be, will be, deserve to be. See you next time.